Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining. If you're new, my name is Rachel and this is my reaction to why invading the UK is almost impossible. So let's go check this out.
A country surrounded by water, rich with resources, and packed with history. Who wouldn't want to own a piece of it? The Romans did it. The Normans pulled it off. But in modern times, not a chance. Plenty have tried, all have failed. And not just because they weren't good enough, because invading the UK is nearly impossible. The Spanish thought they could sail right in, only to get shredded by British cannons and the weather. Napoleon looked across the channel, thought about it, and basically said, yeah, I'll pass. Hitler actually put together a full invasion plan, named Operation Sea Lion. But even the German High Command knew it was a long shot at best and national suicide at worst. So why is it so hard? What makes this little island one of the toughest places on Earth to invade? Well, let's break it down. First up, the biggest and most obvious reason. The UK is a damn island. This might seem basic, but it changes everything. If you want to invade a country like France or Germany, you just roll your tanks over the border and boom, you're in. That's how the Germans did it in World War II. But the UK? Nope. No land borders, no highways to blitzkrieg through. If you want to get an army into Britain, you need to sail across water, and that's where the problems begin. The English Channel isn't just a tiny river you can hop across. It's 21 miles of open water at its narrowest point. And while that sounds short, barely a marathon, it might as well be 1,000 miles when you're trying to move hundreds of thousands of troops, tanks, artillery, and supplies. And here's the kicker. It's been this way forever. Britain has been using the channel as a natural defense barrier since before recorded history. Even in ancient times, Julius Caesar and the Romans had to plan for years just to pull off an invasion. And he had to do it twice, because the first time didn't go too well. Now add in the weather. If you've ever been to Britain, you know that the weather here is actively trying to ruin your day.
Don't ask me why. I just woke up in a fucking steamy jet because I live in a shithole. It's a fucking shithole. I hate the fucking place. I fucking hate it.
It's completely unpredictable, with rain, storms, and wind that can turn the sea into a churning nightmare. The Spanish Armada found this out the hard way in 1588. They had 130 ships, thousands of men, and a plan to take England. But when they got to the Channel, storms and rough seas obliterated them. The British barely had to lift a finger. Nature did most of the work. The remnants of the Armada limped home, having achieved nothing. Even today, modern warships and transport vessels still have to account for bad weather. Storms can delay operations, rough seas can slow down ships, and fog can wreck visibility, making coordinated attacks almost impossible. So, before an invading force even gets to Britain, they're already dealing with some of the worst naval conditions on the planet. But let's say they somehow make it across. Now they have to deal with something even worse. Britain isn't just surrounded by water, it's surrounded by one of the most powerful navies on Earth. The Royal Navy has been a global force for centuries. Back in the 18th and 19th centuries, it was the most powerful navy in history, controlling trade routes and making sure nobody got close to the UK without permission. Today, it might be smaller, but it's still an absolute powerhouse.
I'll give it to the Navy, right? Because the weather is almost, like that. Anywhere, okay, there is nowhere without this tough weather that foreigners will have to deal with. I almost thought that Canada has the worst weather, but hearing this about the UK makes it surprising. Like, I'm surprised to hear that the weather in the UK is this tough. Well, with the recent heat wave, I would say that maybe they have too much extremes. Like, when it is hot, it is hot. When it is cold, it is cold. And when there is storm, there is storm. Like, stuff like that, right? But yeah, I'll give it to the Navy, right? Because if I want to invade somewhere, a country, I would have thought about the natural disasters and try to figure out ways to deal with it, given that, like, everyone knows this now, okay? But the Navy, this is something that you really have to prepare very well up against, because these are humans, intelligence forces that are trained to do this. Okay, I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
At the heart of the fleet are the Queen Elizabeth-class aircraft carriers, massive floating fortresses that carry squadrons of F-35 stealth fighters, some of the most advanced jets in the world. These carriers alone give Britain global reach, allowing them to strike enemies from hundreds of miles away. Then there are the submarines. The UK's Astute-class nuclear submarines are some of the stealthiest in the world. These things lurk under the waves, completely undetectable, tracking enemy ships without ever being seen. If an invasion fleet tries to cross the channel, you can bet that somewhere a British submarine is watching them. And the second they get close, torpedoes are going in the water. And it's not just high-tech ships. The Royal Marines are trained specifically for defending coastlines and stopping amphibious invasions. These guys are some of the toughest soldiers in the world, trained to fight in the harshest conditions, and they would love nothing more than to ruin an enemy's beach landing. By this point, most invading forces would have taken catastrophic losses, but let's assume by some miracle an enemy fleet actually lands troops on British soil. Now what? Bad news. Just because you made it across the water doesn't mean you get to keep breathing. The Royal Air Force is next in line to shut down your invasion before it even gets going. The UK has Eurofighter Typhoons, which are some of the fastest, deadliest fighter jets on the planet. These things patrol the skies constantly, and the moment an enemy aircraft enters British airspace, they're getting locked onto. Then there's the Sky Sabre missile defense system, which can track and intercept enemy missiles and aircraft with pinpoint accuracy. Even long-range missile attacks are unlikely to succeed. Britain's air defense network is integrated with NATO's early warning systems, meaning the second an invasion is detected, reinforcements from France, Germany, and the United States are likely already mobilizing. At this point, an invading force has lost most of its navy, most of its aircraft, and probably half its troops. But let's say somehow a foreign army is standing on British soil. What happens next? The UK doesn't have the biggest army in the world, but what it does have is highly trained, highly professional soldiers. The paratroopers, the Royal Marines, the legendary Gurkhas, and of course the SAS, some of the most elite forces on the planet. These guys train in every kind of warfare imaginable. Jungle combat? Check. Arctic warfare? Done. Urban fighting? They love it. But even if an enemy managed to land somewhere and establish a foothold, they now have to hold it. And that's where the real problems start. The British people are not going to just roll over and accept occupation. The UK is a nation with a deep history of resistance. Even during World War II, when an invasion seemed possible, Churchill had a plan to turn Britain into a guerrilla warfare nightmare.
We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall never surrender.
If it happened today, every town would become a battleground. And if things really got bad, the UK has nuclear weapons. The Trident submarine fleet is always out there, ready to launch a retaliation strike. So, is there any way to actually pull off an invasion of the UK? Probably not, but let's entertain two possibilities. The first scenario would involve a massive surprise cyber attack, crippling the UK's communication systems, air defense, and power grid before a single shot is fired. This would have to be coordinated with a naval and aerial assault using stealth aircraft, submarines, and long-range missiles to overwhelm British forces before they can fully mobilize. If London were effectively cut off and key military bases were neutralized, a fast-moving invasion force might try to establish control before the UK's allies could respond. But this plan relies on Britain doing absolutely nothing while the enemy prepares. Highly unlikely. The second scenario is more unconventional but possibly more effective. An internal takeover. Instead of a traditional military invasion, an enemy could exploit political divisions, economic weaknesses, and social unrest to destabilize the country from within. This could involve cyber warfare, propaganda campaigns, funding separatist movements, and even covert operations to weaken the government. Once the UK is in chaos, a foreign power could step in under the guise of peacekeeping, establishing influence without ever needing to land troops in force. But let's be real, both of these scenarios are long shots. The UK's intelligence services are some of the best in the world, and its military isn't exactly sitting around waiting to get blindsided. The truth is, invading Britain isn't just hard, it's damn near impossible. You'd have to fight the elements, outmaneuver one of the strongest navies in history, defeat a technologically advanced air force, and then somehow subdue an entire nation that historically hates being invaded. If you're thinking about it, just don't. Seriously, just book a holiday instead. It's easier, cheaper, and nobody's going to drop a missile on your head.
I love the ending. It's easier, cheaper, and nobody's going to drop a missile on your head. That's a very warm advice, kind advice. So let's try it. But yeah, I've always thought that it has to be some form of intelligence, right? Intelligent soldiers, intelligent forces, intelligent everything other than just weather. This is quite interesting. I'm pleased to know that the UK is relatively a safe place to be. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this.